week we come in and we share something that either we learned as a real estate investor over the last week, what's going on in the economy, what's going on in the real estate market, and how you can win as a real estate investor. And the way that we've broken down our business is through this real estate investor blueprint. So how many left brain engineers, analytical people are in the room here tonight? Okay, you're among friends. I'm one of those folks too. Okay, so when you see something like this, Andrew, I know what you say. You complete me. You complete me. Yeah. It's a lot, right? So, but this is kind of how we've broken down our business. So it's a little hard to read from where you guys are right now, but I'll tell you there's 6 major blocks. The first block is strategy. So we all need different strategies as real estate investors to be able to survive and thrive in each one of the different markets, because do strategies change for us as the market is changing, right? Yes, all the time. So we have to be able to not just focus on one strategy, because that one strategy will abandon us, leave us homeless and bankrupt as the market changes. So you have to be able to focus on several different strategies as a real estate investor in order to make it through multiple markets without having to go back to work for anyone else. The next big block on the left-hand side are the 65 different marketing strategies. Again, a lot of people will ask us, well, what's the silver bullet, right? In life, is there a silver bullet? No, right? In life, I wish that were the case, but if that were the case and it were so easy, then everyone would be doing it, and what would happen to our margins? They'd get squeezed to nothing because we would just be a commodity. The things that make us great, the things that make us a lot of money, are the fact that it is not straightforward, and it does take a little bit of brains to be able to figure some of these things out, and a fair amount of creativity as well. Well, there's also the process of sales and negotiation. So I know some of you guys might be excellent at that, but I know some of you guys have been in that cubicle and talking to other cubicle people for the last 5, 10, or 20 or more years, and may not have the best skills when it comes to talking to people or sales and negotiation. So we've done a lot of training on sales and negotiation. We've talked to well over 1,200 sellers over the last 20 years. 1,200, we basically just stopped counting. But we go through some of what we call the exactly what to say for the real estate investor. I've literally documented just about every single objection that a seller has given me over the last 20 years, and I have rehearsed all the ways to be able to overcome those objections. In the earlier segment, I share with you guys the prayer, right? And how to be able to get a seller to say, yes, I want to sell you my property subject to, because if you get hit by a bus, then I'm winning, right? So some of those different exactly what to say for the real estate investor comes in very handy. On the bottom right-hand side, we go through the analysis and due diligence. So math is important and critical for us as real estate investors. All of you guys know the real estate investor maximum allowable offer formula. Yes, yes? Who says no? It's okay. Write this down, please. If you do not know this, like it's on the back of your hand, tattoo it. You've got to have this as a real estate investor. We call it the MAO formula, or the maximum allowable offer formula. And that is 70% of the ARV minus repairs. 70% of the ARV minus repairs, where ARV stands for after repair value. This is basically the comps, right? What the house is going to sell for after it's all fixed up, and the repairs that are commensurate with those comps. So for me, if a house has my favorite colors, granite and stainless steel, right? And if your subject property does not have my favorite colors, granite and stainless steel, but all of the comps in the area have my favorite colors, guess what? If you are using those comps, you have to bring it up in terms of your repairs and use a repair that's at that value. Sometimes you'll see new investors, and especially wholesalers, that will tell you, well, the highest ARV is here, and this is the make-ready repairs. Make-ready repairs is basically putting glue and, lipstick, on green laminate countertops, right? So make sure your repairs are commensurate with what your ARV is calling for. So that is what we call the real estate investor maximum allowable offer formula, 70% of ARV minus repairs. So let's do some quick math together just to make sure we all have it. So let's say the ARV is 500,000, and let's say the repairs are 50,000. What is your offer? I know. Do you know? What is it? Is 300,000. Yeah, some of you guys are walking calculators, like we're cut from the same cloth. So 500,000 times 70% is 350,000. 350,000 minus $50,000 in repairs is $300,000. That is your offer. Everybody got that? So you might need another example. It's okay? Okay, so another example. ARV is 200,000. Repairs are 40,000. What is your offer? I know you know. What did you say? 100,000. I thought you said 160. And I'm like, you are wrong, but you said 100, so you are right. So 200,000 times 70% is 140. 140 minus the $40,000 in repairs means that you offer $100,000. Now, your second question should be, well, that's cool that that's the offer, but how much do I make if I make that offer? So typically you're making somewhere between 10 to 15% of your ARV. So if your ARV is 500,000, you're making somewhere between $50,000 and $75,000 on that deal. If your ARV is 200,000, you're making somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 on that deal. Some of you guys might say, well, what's the difference? Like, why would I make 50 versus 75? What's the difference? The difference is going to be, and this is an assumption, this is a huge assumption to give all of you guys. It assumes that you nailed your ARV, and it assumes that you nailed your repairs. Now, probably my least favorite quote as a real estate investor, my renovation project came in on time and on budget. Who said that? That would be no one ever, exactly. But I'm going to assume that for you guys. So assuming that you got your math, and assuming that also number 3, you got your math right. What's the difference between making 10% versus 15%? Well, it's really all about your cost of capital. So if you have a hard money lender who's charging you 15%, they're going to take up about 5% of that ARV in terms of their profit, right? Because they're funding your entire deal. And then you would take the other 10%. If you're buying subject to and you've got someone with a 3% loan and you're bringing your personal cash to the table, then you're looking at making 15% and maybe even a little bit more of that ARV in terms of your profit. So that's kind of some of our basic formulas there. Yes, sir? You would make 30%, except for what? So the question was, for those of you guys online, for those of you guys over here who couldn't hear, well, I'm offering them a 30% discount. Why am I not making 30% of the ARV in terms of my profit? Why is that, guys? We have closing costs on the buy, right? We have title insurance. We have property insurance. We have all of the title fees. Hopefully we don't have a real estate commission on the buy, because that's going to eat up a lot of our, I'm just saying. And then we have all the holding costs for while we're renovating the property. So that's property taxes, right? So some of you guys who are from other states, you might find, wow, that took up a lot of my profits, right? You have insurance, you have utilities, you might have HOA. If you have hard money payments, then those would be part of what you're paying on a regular basis as your holding costs. And then you have the closing costs when you go to sell it. And yes, at that point, you're bringing in a great realtor to be able to sell it for you, and you're going to want to pay them a good commission to be able to do that, because that's how we're going to get that highest price. We want to advertise to as many people as possible. So that typically eats up about 50% of that 30% discount. So that's why instead of making a 30% profit, you're at best typically making about a 15% profit, maybe a little more, again, if you nail the ARV and nail the repairs, but as low as a 10% profit if you're bringing in, for example, a hard money lender as your partner. Now, for my hard money lenders in the room, I want to make sure that I'm super clear on this. There's no way in many cases that a deal is getting done without you guys, right? So you, our guys, are the key to unlocking some of these profits, right? You're the key to unlocking some of these profits. So that's a little bit about the analysis and due diligence side. Next is finance side. So you've got to have the folks to be able to finance them for you. And the last thing here is the operations. It's the largest part of this chart here. It's in the upper right-hand corner. Why do you think it's the largest part of this chart? Why do you think operations is the largest part of your chart? Maintain the asset. What else? What else? Say it again, finding the next deal. That's the marketing part, yeah. But what might allow you to find the next deal? If you are going to your property every day, and if you are the plumber, the electrician, the tile layer, right? If you are the drywaller, if you are the person who's doing everything in the house, what do you now not have any time for? Finding the next deal, doing the marketing. The only way that your business scales beyond doing 1 to 2 properties a year is if what? Your operations is tight, meaning you have someone that you can hand over the reins to do all of this stuff for you so you can be working on the next deal. You're going to save money if you're doing stuff yourself, but you're going to save your way out of scaling your business and growing your revenue. And I think this is where a lot of new investors get it wrong. And especially those of you guys, and I know many of you guys are in here who are those cubicle jockeys, right? Who's like, I want to get out in the sun and work good day's hard work. Like, it's like when you're looking at a spreadsheet all day, it's like, you're not like walking around saying like, I'm so proud. Like, look at my spreadsheet, look at how many tabs, tab after tab. Look at all these formulas. It's like, there's no feel good with that. But when you're knocking down a wall after you've been in a cubicle for like 10 years, it feels really good. But I will tell you guys, the faster that you let go of that it feels really good feeling and realize that what feels better is, being on the phone and talking to a seller and getting that next deal, trust me, this is where your business will scale. And I know some of you guys are still looking at me like, no, I'm going to do my own stuff. Well, great, then you're going to do 1 to 2 deals a year, okay? And that may be enough for you. But if you want to do 10 deals a year, right, and you really want to push and move the dial, then you're going to focus on the operations side of your business so that you can grow it. Now, our tip today is actually refinancing. So I'm going to pull that slide up. Give me 2 seconds as we're getting that going. Tip today is refinancing. Refinancing in today's market is a little bit different than what it was just a few years ago. Why is that? Why is refinancing a little different now? Interest rates, right? Interest rates. So I would say, in a way, refinancing or even financing is a little bit dead, which is probably not what any of you guys expected to hear when we're talking about financing, right? It's like, well, is it over, right? It's like, is the opportunity over? What's the answer to that? No. Do we have to get more creative? 100%. That is our job. Our job is to understand the disruption that is affecting the market. Our job is to come up with a solution for that disruption while we are heads up looking for what? The next disruption, right? And then we got to put a process around the solution that we created for the last disruption so that we can do what? Hand it to somebody else so that we can focus on getting the next. Okay, 2 of you are really following along here. This is like so awesome. Like, thank you 2 right here. The rest of you guys try and keep up a little bit with us. So refinancing is the traditional refinance that we saw in 2020, that we saw in 2021, that we saw in the first half of 2022 is dead. And so to prove that to you guys, I'm going to give you some eye charts, which is, it turns out it looks like you won't be able to read from here. So let me see if we can do it a little bit like this. And, Michael, I don't know if you could help me. I know this is a big ask because there's like 55 different light switches around here, but could we dim the light, make it a little more romantic in here if you could? Just want to, there may be some over there, so there may be some extra switches, and I'll explain what you're not seeing over here. And I'm going to be able to read this myself. So this orange line here, this is 2014 to 2023, okay? This is the interest rates, right? So we've seen the interest rate more than double over about a 1-year period. What you can't see right here until we find some of the lights that might be a little bit closer to me, which may be over here, and no. What you can see is this in here. So this is the refinance part, right? And this is where we are right now in terms of the number of people that are doing the refinancing. So if you guys would like to pull this up on your phone too, because we are having a little trouble finding some of the lights in here.
So the reason he cannot is because it's behind the whole thing.
Oh, it's behind the screen.
Yeah, behind the screen in the middle. So
Oh, hold on, okay. Tell me if this helps.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
We just can see you, but
That still didn't really do much for it. So, and unfortunately, all three of my graphs are like that. So, what it basically says is it shows the interest rates in the orange line right there, and then in the light blue, which is what you guys can't see, it shows the number of people that are refinancing right now, which has gone down by more than half as interest rates have more than doubled over the last year. If you look at the refinance versus just the regular financing, again, you'll see as interest rates have doubled, this line in orange here, you'll see that where we had this huge amount of growth here in 2020, if you guys have great sight, this is where all of the refinances were happening in here. And then it's gone down to right here is where we are, okay? So, and then if you look, and this one you can actually see. So this one you can actually see. So this is purchases versus the refinance index. So the purchase index has gone down because we have fewer buyers in the market right now. And then the refinance index has also gone down. So what does that tell you guys? What does that tell you guys? Refinancing is dead. Refinancing is dead. If you look at mortgage applications, you'll see the same thing. And those mortgage applications are the leading indicator of what refinances are going to look like. So for those of you guys who are excited about and are doing research and are over at YouTube University learning about the BRRRR strategy, right? Buying, rehabbing, renting, and refinancing. It thrived when interest rates were low. It was a wonderful time to be able to use that strategy. But it isn't working as well today. Unless what? Unless what? Unless what? Unless you're doubling your down payment, right? Because the reason why people are using the strategy is because they want to get more cash flowing rental properties. If you're doubling your down payment, what does that mean you can buy fewer of? More houses, right? So we kind of get into this situation where you're maximizing your cash flow by doubling your down payment, which puts you in a position where you're not allowed to double the inventory of houses that you have. So it makes it harder to cash flow. And some of those larger loans, those DSCR loans, are also products are starting to go away because it's just harder to be able to do that. And especially in this city right now where we have prices that are really high, but we have rents that are relatively low versus prices. Many of you guys have heard of the 1% rule. What's the 1% rule?
If you put $100,000, you gotta get $1,000.
If you buy a house for $100,000, you better be getting $1,000 a month. So if the average price in Austin is over $600,000, which is what it is, right? Are you getting $6,000 a month on average from your rental property? The answer is no, not even close. You might be getting maybe $3,000. So in Austin, that number might be at half, right? The only way that you're going to get cash flow on that is if, again, you're in a situation where you are doubling your down payment, which limits our ability to scale, But don't worry, there are other options. It is our job to look for disruptions. It is our job to come up with solutions, and there are many solutions that don't necessarily involve refinancing, but does involve using and leveraging the interest rates of borrowers who bought and or refinance in 2020, 2021, 2022. And if you had decent credit, what did you do in 2020 and 2021 and 2022? You refinanced everything at these incredibly low interest rates that, if I'm honest with you, I think we will never see again. And I don't mean to sound like negative. I mean, we'll see them again if somebody could invent COVID part 2, right? That would be a way that we'll see them again if Russia starts World War III, right? Wouldn't that be we'll see them again if some really awful scenario is happening. Do you guys agree with that? More or less, right? So, but we can take advantage of all of the existing mortgages that are out there that are already under 4%. So why not take advantage by taking over a mortgage of an existing property? This is how we make a dollar holler. This is how we break through the disruption that is happening in today's market. So for those of you who think interest rates are going to go down and who think, well, yeah, they're going to go down back to 3%, 4%, 5%. What I tell people, and this is actually a realtor saying, is marry the house, date the rate. What does that mean? Go on, buy your dream house. Yeah, you might pay a little more for it, or you're going to have to buy down the rate. And then when interest rates come down like you think they're going to come down, then what are you going to do? You're going to refinance, okay? Until then, another strategy for us to use is to do what? To buy it subject to the existing mortgage and take advantage of where the market was just a few years ago. And sellers are willing to do that because if you write up the note and deed of trust properly, they win in the event that you screw something up and stop making payments, okay? So that's a little bit about my perspective after doing this for 20 years on refinancing. If you guys would like to hear a little bit more about some of the different tips and tricks that we have, I've got over 100 tips and tricks for you guys to be able to make money as the market changes on our Texas REIAs YouTube channel as well as on our podcast. For me, it feels like they're either YouTubers or podcast. I'm the podcast person. Like I podcast when I drive, I podcast when I work out. I'm not the YouTuber, but we've got it in both those places for you. And this is actually part of a 10+ part series, which we call an overview of real estate investing. So if you want to get an idea about the marketing, the deals, strategies, due diligence, negotiating, financing, closing, reselling, leasing, and tonight's topic, refinancing, please join us on our Texas REIAs YouTube or podcast channel. And our next series is something that we call, and I promise the motivational part of our presentation is almost over, but the next series of things that we're going to go into is something we call top investor mistakes. So these are all of the potholes and sand traps that investors fall into as they are getting started, as well as getting past the front door, which is what we call the exactly what to say for the real estate investor who is door knocking or cold calling in today's environment. So again, check us out on our Texas REIAs YouTube channel, binge watch us and become the expert. Really like it when you guys are getting your knowledge and information from people who live here, work here, invest here. If you're getting your knowledge and information from any of the incredible, super successful YouTubers with all the subscribers out there, if you are investing where in the state that they live, fantastic. But if you are not, then you're going to learn something that might be illegal in the state that you are investing, worst case scenario, right? Or something that just doesn't work and it's going to be a fool's errand, then you might not figure it out until you've been trying it for the last 6 months. So something to be aware of. So we teach Texans how to invest in Texas using strategies that actually work in Texas.